At 85 years old, my legs are stronger than they were when I was 50. I know it sounds exaggerated, almost impossible, but I assure you there's nothing magical or miraculous in what I'm about to share. I don't have special genes, I'm not a retired athlete, and I haven't devoted my life to sports. I'm an ordinary person. I've experienced pain, moments of weakness, days when simply getting out of bed felt like a feat. For years I believed it was normal for legs to become heavy, slow and fragile with age. Everyone told me it's part of growing older. But at some point, that phrase stopped comforting me. Because it wasn't just tiredness, it was the feeling of losing control over my body, of no longer feeling safe walking alone, of avoiding stairs, long walks, even some family visits, just because moving hurt. Then one day something changed. It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't with pills or expensive gadgets. It came from small daily gestures, from simple but powerful decisions, from consistency and kindness toward this body that's carried me all these years. Today, I want to share with you exactly what I did so my legs would respond like they used to. I'll tell you step by step which habits I changed, which exercises I do, what I eat, and above all, how I overcame the fear of feeling fragile. Because beyond the physical, what I regained was something even more valuable: confidence. If you've also felt that your legs aren't what they used to be, if you've lost agility, stability, or strength, I want you to know you're not alone, and there's still so much you can do. This video isn't just for those seeking muscle strength, it's for those searching for strength in the soul, for those who want to keep walking firmly, no matter their age. Will you stay with me? And tell me, how old are you? And where are you watching from? I'll love reading your comments. When I was younger, I'd climb stairs without a second thought. I wasn't even aware of what my legs were doing. I simply climbed. I walked down the street, bent over to tie my shoes, got up from the couch effortlessly. Everything was automatic. But one day, without realizing it, I began to avoid those things. First, it was the steps. I felt I needed to lean on the railing. Then my walks got shorter. My legs trembled when I stood for too long. It became hard to stand up after sitting, and each step reminded me of something I didn't want to accept. My legs were no longer the same. Why does this happen? Why, as we age, do we feel our bodies don't respond the same way, especially in our legs? There's a key word here: sarcopenia. It's the natural process of muscle loss that occurs with aging. After 50, we begin to lose muscle progressively, even if our weight stays the same. It's not that muscles disappear overnight, but they weaken, shrink, and if we don't use them, they simply vanish. And the issue isn't just age. Sedentary behavior is a silent enemy. We spend more time sitting, we move less, and that has consequences. Legs that were once used to movement become slow, clumsy, unreliable. Moreover, circulation also slows with the years. This means muscles receive less oxygen and nutrients, making them more prone to fatigue and strength loss. Veins may start working less efficiently, leading to that feeling of heaviness, nighttime cramps, swelling. I lived it firsthand. I remember one particular day. I went to the supermarket, like always. But that time, upon reaching the final aisle, I had to sit down in a corner because my legs simply wouldn't hold me. I felt ashamed, I felt fragile. That's when I knew I had to do something. I couldn't keep watching my legs give up day after day without doing anything. I didn't want to reach the point of needing help for everything. I didn't want to depend on a cane or a chair. That was when I began this journey. A journey that wasn't quick, but that was worth every step. Because regaining strength in the legs isn't impossible. It just requires something we often forget: intention. Before, my family said with the best intentions, "Don't push yourself so hard. You're not up for that anymore." The doctor told me gently, "At your age, risks should be avoided." Neighbors said it, friends said it, the news said it. And in the end, I began to tell myself the same thing. I stopped climbing stairs. I stopped taking long walks. I started looking for the closest chair. I felt tired before moving, as if I already knew my body wouldn't respond. And without realizing it, I began disappearing behind fear. Fear of pain, fear of falling, fear of looking ridiculous trying something others thought wasn't for me anymore. That fear built an invisible cage, and the most dangerous thing is that, from the outside, it seemed logical. It seemed prudent. But inside, I felt myself fading away. Because yes, with age one becomes more aware of one's limits, but also more sensitive to the abandonment of one's own body. And there's a truth I discovered too late, but that changed everything. What isn't used is lost. Muscle not activated, muscle weakened. Energy not moving, energy stagnating. And that's how many of us fall into the most common mistake, stopping movement because we believe movement is dangerous. But do you know what's more dangerous? Not moving. When I stopped pushing myself, I noticed everything. My back became stiffer, my legs clumsier, my balance more unstable, and each day I felt more insecure, as if my whole body had forgotten how to be a body. Until one day, in a medical appointment, the physiotherapist told me something that stuck. Don't stop moving. Movement is what keeps you alive. Just like that. And she was right. That's when I began to shift my mindset. I understood it wasn't about becoming an athlete, nor forcing my body as if I were 20. It was about learning to trust my legs again. To teach them, little by little, they still had time to be strong. Because there's no age limit for moving. What changes is the way. I started with slow movements, 10 minutes each morning. Step up one stair and step down. Sit and stand from a chair without using arms. Walk around the house, stretch upon waking. And so, with those small gestures, my body began to remember. I regained confidence, tone, even dignity. Because when you can trust your legs, you trust yourself more too. So if you're listening, and you've also fallen into the trap of you're not up for that, pause for a second. Ask yourself, what's more dangerous? Effort or surrender? Walking. Something so simple, so everyday, that we rarely think of it as medicine. But for me, that was the first step, both literally and symbolically, to recover strength in my legs. When I decided I didn't want to keep weakening, I didn't know where to start. I had no trainer, no energy, no plan. I only had one thing, a deep need to trust my body again. And the most basic way to do that was walking. But I'm not talking about running or strolling miles as if nothing. No, I mean starting from where you really are. I began with 2 laps around the block. 2, with a cane in hand, slowly, leaning every few steps. It wasn't an elegant, firm walk. It was insecure, shaky, clumsy. But it was mine. At first, I tired quickly. My heart raced. My feet hurt. Neighbors looked at me with a mix of pity and curiosity. But I wasn't walking for them. I was walking for me. Because each step, however weak, was a small reminder. You still can. And that was the most important thing. Walking with intention. Not out of obligation. Not as punishment. Not as an exercise goal. But as a way of life. As a conversation between my mind and my body. Every morning, I went out not just to move my legs, but to remind myself I was alive. After 1 week, I felt a bit firmer. I stopped using the cane for a few minutes, then for a whole lap. And when I realized it, I was walking unaided. My posture improved. My stride became more agile. Even my thoughts were clearer. Because when you walk, you don't just move your body, you oxygenate your soul. Now I walk every day. Sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes 30. If it rains, I walk indoors, from one room to another. If it's hot, I walk in the shade. If I'm tired, I walk more slowly. But I walk. And you might be thinking, I can't. My legs hurt. I get tired. I'm afraid of falling. I understand. I was there. But let me tell you this with all my heart. You don't have to do much. You just have to do what you can, what you're able to today. Here are some practical tips to start, even if you feel you can't. Start at home. Walk from the bedroom to the kitchen, then to the bathroom, then to the dining room. Do it 5 times a day. That's already a beginning. Use a chair for support. If you need balance, walk holding a wall or the back of a sturdy chair. There's no shame in leaning while you progress. Count steps, not meters. Instead of thinking, I must walk 500 meters, think, I'll take 20 steps, then 20 more. Do it after a meal. The body is more active and it aids digestion. Just 5 minutes of a light walk after lunch can change your day. Breathe deeply. Walk slowly, but with intention. Feel the air enter. Feel your feet on the ground. Walking this way becomes almost a meditation. You don't need expensive sneakers or a special park. You only need 2 things: determination and consistency. Because walking isn't just moving, it's regaining the rhythm of your life. It's telling your legs, thank you for carrying me all this time. Now I'll care for you so you can keep walking with me. Before regaining strength, I discovered something even more urgent I needed to address: rigidity. That sensation that legs feel like stone, that muscles don't respond, that every movement pulls, bothers, limits. It's curious, because one gets used to it. You get used to standing up from a chair with effort, to not being able to bend fully, to feeling that extending your leg while walking is a chore. But there comes a moment, or at least it happened to me, when you realize it isn't just weakness, it's stiffness. And stiffness is dangerous, because when muscles lack flexibility, the body compensates poorly. You walk with short steps, lose balance, tense as you move. And that not only reduces mobility, it can lead straight to a fall. One morning, after walking, I decided to try something new. Not with a physiotherapist or a class, on my own at home. I put on soft music and began to move gently, as if I were asking permission to inhabit my own body again. At first I could barely lean forward while seated, but I didn't give up. Each day I repeated it. I sat in a firm chair, feet flat on the floor, and slowly tried to reach my knees, then my ankles. Sometimes I made it, sometimes not. It didn't matter. Little by little I discovered stretching isn't forcing. It's inviting. Inviting the body to release what it's been holding onto for years. Tension, fear, immobility. In under 1 month, I noticed something incredible. Nighttime cramps disappeared. I could lift my legs higher when climbing stairs. When I showered, I felt firmer. My legs were starting to cooperate again. And I'm not talking about contortions or complicated exercises. I'll share my simple routine, which you can do seated or standing, without pain, in under 10 minutes. Stretches while seated. Sit in a chair with your feet firmly on the floor. Inhale, then as you exhale, slowly lean forward, letting your arms fall toward your knees. Hold 5 seconds and return. Repeat 3 times. Next, extend one leg forward, heel on the floor and toes toward you. Lean slightly over that leg. Feel the stretch in the back of your leg. Hold 20 seconds. Switch legs. Stretches standing, with support. Lean on the back of a chair or against a wall. Bring one heel toward your buttock, trying to touch it with your foot. If you can't reach it, lift as much as you can. Hold 15 seconds. Switch legs. With both feet on the floor, lean your torso to one side, as if you wanted to touch your hip. Hold a few seconds and switch sides. What matters isn't how far you stretch, but how you do it. No bouncing, no rushing, no pain, just breathing and releasing. When's the best time? Just after walking or a hot shower. The body is more receptive. How long? 10 minutes a day is enough. But if you can do it twice, even better. And if you don't have time, do 1 or 2 stretches during the day, upon waking, before sleeping. Every minute counts. Stretching gave me back something I'd lost. Lightness. Not just in my legs, but in my spirit. Because when the body releases, the mind also breathes. If today you feel tense, stiff, or afraid to move, start here. Stretching is a way to reconcile with yourself, and believe me, your legs will thank you. At first, the word strength scared me. Strength exercises at 85? Wasn't that dangerous? What if I got injured? What if I couldn't do it? For a long time I thought that was only for the young, for those who went to the gym, lifted weights, and sweated in tight shirts. But after walking more and stretching every day, I began to feel my legs wanted more, as if they were waking up, as if for the first time in years they wanted to push, support, move forward. That was when I read something that changed my outlook. Losing strength isn't an inevitable part of aging. It's the result of disuse. And I took it as a challenge. I had no dumbbells, no weights, no desire to go to a gym. But I had my body. I had 2 water bottles, a sturdy chair, and a strong desire to feel powerful again. I started with the simplest, most powerful move, sitting down and standing up from a chair. That's it. I sat with my back straight and without using my hands, pushed myself up with my legs. At first, I could barely do 5 repetitions, but each day I added 1 more. That action, so ordinary, became my routine, because it symbolizes so much more than an exercise. It represents independence. It represents the ability to stand up on your own, not depending on anyone. Next, I added stepping up and down a stair. Using a low box, or even the first step of a staircase, I placed 1 foot up, then the other, and stepped down. At first with support, then alone. No need to rush or exhaust myself, just careful repetition. Gradually I felt my legs pushing with more assurance. My knees hurt less, my balance improved. Then came elastic bands. A friend gave me one. I hooked it to the bedpost and used it to push with my feet, strengthen my thighs, work my glutes. It was gentle, controlled, yet I felt muscles reactivating. I also used water bottles. I held them while doing small lifting exercises, keeping my arms steady and my legs active. Nothing that would harm me. Everything within my capability. Do you know when I realized it was working? The day I rose from the couch without leaning on anything, without pushing myself with my hands. I stood up firmly, and I cried. Yes, I cried tears of joy, because that simple gesture was a tremendous victory for me. It was proof it wasn't too late, that my body hadn't abandoned me. It only needed me to trust it again. Tips to get started yourself. Choose functional exercises. You don't need to lift heavy weights. Practice everyday movements, standing up, stepping, maintaining balance. Do it safely. Use a sturdy chair. Keep something nearby to hold on to if needed. Never push beyond your limits. Begin 2 or 3 times a week, then increase if you feel energetic. Don't get frustrated. It's tough at first, but every small gain is a celebration. Strength isn't only in muscles, it's in the decision to reclaim what you thought was lost. I'd long believed the weakness I felt in my legs was just a matter of age. I kept telling myself, it's normal. I'm already very old. And although exercise helped, I felt something was missing. Sometimes I grew fatigued quickly. Sometimes, after walking or doing my exercises, my muscles trembled, as if they lacked sufficient energy. It was then that a friend asked me a question that made me pause. Are you eating enough protein? I had never paid attention to that. In my mind, protein was something for the young, the athletes, those drinking strange shakes and eating meat all day. But I started researching, asking questions, and discovered something surprising. After 60, our bodies need more protein than before, not less. Why? Because muscle mass naturally begins to decline, and if you don't give your body the materials it needs to rebuild, it simply cannot do so. That's when I realized I was doing everything right, but on a weak foundation. I decided to make small changes. First, more legumes, lentils, chickpeas, beans. They are not only rich in plant-based protein, but also in iron and fiber, and they're economical. I began including them 3 or 4 times per week, sometimes in stews, other times in salads. Next, eggs. I used to eat 1 per week, fearful of cholesterol. Now I know that 1 egg a day is not only safe but beneficial. It's a complete source of protein, easy to digest and prepare. I like to boil them and keep them ready in the fridge. They're practical and nutritious. I also added nuts, a handful of almonds or walnuts in the morning or as a snack. They're rich in protein, healthy fats, and magnesium, which also helps muscles and bones. Plus, they gave me energy without feeling heavy. And something I did not expect: drinking more water. Yes, as simple as that. For years I neglected proper hydration. But when I started drinking at least 8 glasses a day, I noticed my joints hurt less, my legs felt less stiff, and even my digestion improved. What did I eat during the day to support my body? For breakfast, a boiled egg with whole grain bread or natural yogurt with walnuts. For lunch, salads with lentils or chickpeas, fish or chicken, and cooked vegetables. For dinner, something lighter but nutritious, a legume soup or a vegetable omelette. Between meals, fruit and water, no pastries, which only deliver quick energy that fades immediately. The best part is I never had to follow a strict diet. It was simply a matter of becoming more mindful, thinking of my body like a plant that needs the right nutrients to flourish. If your legs feel weak, if your muscles don't respond, if you exercise but see no results, ask yourself, am I giving my body the bricks it needs to build strength? Because without protein, without water, without whole living foods, no exercise will fully work. This was my 4th change, one you cannot see from the outside, but that made a huge difference on the inside. And there's still more. For a long time, my legs felt like something foreign. I moved them, yes, but I didn't really feel they were mine. They were heavy, cold to the touch, tense, as if I were dragging a part of my body that no longer wanted to respond. One day, talking with a neighbor who is a retired physiotherapist, she told me something that shifted my perspective. Your legs don't just need to move, they need to be touched. And so began one of the simplest and most powerful rituals I adopted: home massages every night with natural oils. I started with rosemary oil, which she recommended. It's a traditional oil used for centuries to improve circulation, soothe inflammation, and reactivate flow in tired legs. Its deep, warm aroma reminded me of the countryside. I warmed a small amount between my hands, and with slow, circular motions, applied it from my ankles up to my thighs. I never rushed. It became my daily ritual. I put on soft music, breathed deeply, and connected with my body. Then I discovered other oils. Arnica, which helps with muscle aches, ideal after a long walk. Horse chestnut oil, recommended for circulation issues or varicose veins, for its toning effect on veins. Sometimes I used them separately. Other times I made a homemade blend: 3 tablespoons of carrier oil, such as almond oil, with 5 drops of the chosen essential oil. Always testing first on a small patch of skin to ensure no reaction. And then came the change. Not immediate, but profound. After a few days, my legs felt warmer, my skin softer. Most importantly, I began to feel them alive, as if awakening from a long slumber. My sleep improved too. I slept more deeply, with fewer nighttime cramps, without that tingling or heaviness. And strangely, my mood lifted. By caring for my legs in that way, I was also telling myself, I deserve this care. I deserve to feel well. This simple act, which takes no more than 10 minutes, became a sacred ritual. No expensive devices or spa visits were needed. Just my hands, an oil, and the decision to cherish the body that has carried me all these years. So if you too feel your legs aren't what they once were, if some days they feel heavy, ache, or simply seem forgotten, try this. It's not magic, it's attention, and sometimes that's all we need to begin change. There were days when I could not move. Days when I woke with rigid legs, no energy in my body, and my mind filled with doubts. Days when sitting on the bed was a challenge and rising from a chair seemed impossible. And believe me, in those moments it's easiest to give up. But that's when I learned one of the greatest truths of this journey. It's not about doing it perfectly. It's about doing it consistently. You don't need to walk 3 miles. You don't need to do every exercise each day. You don't need to become an athlete. You just need to show up. Do something, even if it's small. Even if one day you only stretch a little or give yourself a brief massage, that counts. Consistency changed my body and my mind. Before, when I missed a day, I would punish myself thinking, I've broken the rhythm. There's no point in continuing. But one missed day is not the end. It's just one day, and the next you can begin again. Your body does not need perfection. It needs commitment. Your body does not ask you to be strong every day. It only asks that you not abandon it. I remember one particular winter week. I was ill, with a low-grade fever, no appetite, no energy. Inside, I was tempted to surrender, to stay in bed. But something in me said, do something, just a little. That day, sitting on the edge of the bed, I took 3 deep breaths. Nothing more, but enough to keep the flame alive. The next day, I did 5-foot exercises, and the day after, I went for a walk inside the house. Step by step, I emerged from that slump. Consistency beat fatigue. It's a phrase I repeat as a mantra because it's true. The body listens when you speak to it with small, repeated acts, not with grand promises, but with humble, steadfast deeds. That is why today, at 85, I no longer have perfect legs, but I have living legs. Legs that respond, that support me, that accompany me with dignity. I did not achieve this with great feats, but by doing little, and doing it always. So if today you're tired, if you feel you can't go on, if you've failed many times, it doesn't matter. It's not about doing much. It's about not stopping doing. And if you falter, smile. You still have time. Your body is waiting for you, not so you can demand from it, but so you can walk alongside it. In the final part, I want to share a personal reflection. This journey has not been only physical, it's been emotional and spiritual too. I want you to take away more than tips. I want to leave you with a seed of hope. Have you ever felt, upon missing a day, that everything was lost? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to read your story. Throughout this journey, many people have written asking if what I share will work for them. Today I want to answer some of the questions I hear most. If you felt doubtful or insecure, I hope to clear those concerns. Can I do this if I'm over 80? Yes, absolutely yes. I'm 85, and I began after I turned 80. There is no age limit on caring for your legs. As long as you're alive, your body can adapt, improve, and reward whatever care you give it. What matters is starting gently, without comparing yourself to others, and listening to your limits. It's never too late. What if I have osteoarthritis or chronic pain? That was my case too. I had seasons of knee pain, ankle stiffness, and nighttime cramps that woke me screaming. The most important thing is understanding that movement, though it may seem counterintuitive, can relieve pain when done correctly. Gentle stretches, oil massages, slow walking. These are allies, not enemies. Of course, if something hurts too much, stop. It's not about forcing, but about supporting. And if you can, consult a physiotherapist or doctor to adapt movements to your condition. How long until I see results? It depends on each body. In my case, after 2 weeks I felt less heaviness and more confidence walking. After 1 month, I noticed I could stand up more easily. And in 3 months, I no longer needed a cane to walk outside. But don't obsess over timelines. Instead of asking, when will I see changes? Ask yourself, did I do something for myself today? Did I care for my legs, even a little? When change becomes habit, results come without you noticing. Do I need a gym or expensive equipment? No. Everything I did at home. I began with a chair, a wall, and a water bottle. You don't need gym weights, machines, or special clothes. All you need is willpower, a bit of space, and consistency. If one day you can invest in a resistance band or a softball, great, but it's not essential. Your body is enough. What if I fall or fear losing balance? That fear is real, and it's wise to take it seriously. Always do exercises near a stable surface, a chair with a back, a wall, or alongside a trusted companion. Begin seated if necessary. Heel raises, toe wiggles, leg stretches, all can be done safely. Over time, your balance improves. I myself fell a couple of times and learned to respect my limits. You can also strengthen balance with very simple exercises, walking in a straight line indoors, standing on one foot for a few seconds while holding a table. Everything helps. At 85, I learned to trust my legs again. And more importantly, I learned to trust myself again. Because it's not just about walking without pain. It's about waking each morning knowing my body still responds. It's about crossing the street without fear of stumbling. About stepping onto a curb without thinking of falling. About bending down to cradle my grandchild without worrying if I can rise again. For years I thought there was no turning back, that muscles wouldn't return, that strength was gone forever. But I was wrong. It wasn't magic. It wasn't luck. It was decision, patience, consistency, and a great deal of self-love. Today, when I walk alone down the street, I don't feel proud for appearing young. I feel grateful for feeling capable, for having proved to myself that even after decades, I can still improve and still care for myself. And that is my final message. Do it for you, so you can walk unaided, open a door without losing balance, maintain your independence as long as possible, and keep choosing where you go and how you get there. No matter your age, your legs can still take you farther than you believe. What matters is not how far you go each day, but that you don't stop. Cherish them, care for them. Make that small effort today for the you of tomorrow. Now I want to hear from you. Which part of your body do you want to strengthen first? Have you begun doing something for your legs? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to know where you are and how I can accompany you on your journey. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And above all, thank you for not giving up. I'll see you in the next video.